You know, buying a car is one of the biggest purchases you'll ever make. But how do you make sure that shiny new set of wheels doesn't turn into a total financial headache? Well, in this explainer, we're going to break down what actually makes a car reliable and how you can make a much smarter choice. First things first, let's just talk numbers. The average price for a brand new car in the US has shot up to, get this, over $48,000. That is a massive investment. A huge chunk of your financial life is tied up in this one machine.
And that's the big question, right? With that kind of money on the line, how can you be sure that your new ride is going to be a reliable partner and not a car that's constantly in the repair shop?
So here's what we're going to cover. We'll start with the high cost of unreliability, then we'll rank the major car brands, we'll do a deep dive on a problematic SUV, and even look inside its transmission. Then we'll talk about the gamble with electric vehicles and wrap it all up with how you can buy smarter.
All right, let's kick things off with the big picture, a 30,000-foot view of the whole car industry. So, which brands are consistently knocking it out of the park on reliability, and which ones are kind of falling behind?
The latest data from Consumer Reports tells a really interesting story. Up at the top, you've got the usual suspects, right? Subaru, Lexus, and Toyota, brands that have built their reputations on dependability. But then you look at the other end of the spectrum. You've got brands like GMC, Cadillac, and the EV startup Rivian, whose cars are just seeing a lot more time in the shop.
And if you slice this data by region, a really clear pattern just pops right out. Automakers from Asia, they continue to lead the pack with an average reliability score of 57. European brands are hanging out in the middle at 48, while US brands are trailing pretty far behind with an average score of just 38.
And look, this isn't just a few anecdotes. These rankings are built on some serious data. We're talking info from over 300,000 vehicle owners. The survey digs into 20 different potential trouble spots, covering everything from little annoyances like squeaky brakes to, catastrophic failures of the engine or transmission.
But brand-level data only tells you so much, right? Reliability can be all over the place, even within the same brand. So let's zoom in on one of the most popular SUVs out there, the Nissan Rogue, to see how specific years can become a real nightmare for owners.
So, as you can see, if you're shopping for a used Rogue, you really got to do your homework. The early models, like the 2008 and 2011, were known for having serious transmission failures. And it's not just the old ones. Even newer models have had issues, from glitchy tech in 2018 to major engine recalls just in the last few years. But the number one problem, year after year, has been its transmission. Specifically, what's called a continuously variable transmission, or CVT. Owners complain about it shuddering, slipping, or just failing completely. And the cost to fix it? A gut punch of $3,500 to $5,500. That is a financial hit nobody wants. So what is actually going wrong inside these things? Let's get really granular now, down to the nuts and bolts, and look at a problem that affects some of the most popular vehicles on the road today. To do that, first there's a term you need to know, a TSB, or Technical Service Bulletin. Now, this is not a safety recall. It's more like an internal memo from the car company to its dealers that says, hey, we know this is a common problem, and here's the official way to diagnose and fix it. Okay, check this out. This is a real TSB from Ford. It's for their 10-speed transmission, which they put in everything. The F-150, the Explorer, even the Mustang. And if you read the summary section, you can see it's all about a widespread problem with harsh, clunky, and delayed shifting.
So what's causing this massive headache? Believe it or not, it all comes down to a tiny little part, a sleeve inside a clutch that moves just a little bit out of place. And when it does, it creates a hydraulic leak. The best way to think about it is like a crucial seal in your home's plumbing failing. That one tiny failure messes up the pressure and flow for the whole system.
And this is the crazy part. That tiny little sleeve, fixing it is a huge job. The TSB shows that the full repair can mean replacing over 50 different parts, seals, gaskets, clutch plates, you name it. One tiny failure leads to a massive, complicated, and very expensive repair. Okay, let's zoom back out and tackle one of the biggest questions in the car world right now. As we all start shifting toward electric cars, are these new hybrids, plug-in hybrids, and full EVs actually reliable?
While the data shows a huge difference, regular hybrids, the ones that have been around for over 20 years, are basically just as reliable as regular gas cars. But plug-in hybrids, or PHEVs, that's a whole other story. They have a shocking 70% more problems than gas cars.
Okay, so what about all-electric cars? Well, they are getting better, but on average, EVs still have 42% more problems than traditional gas cars. Now that's a big improvement from last year, but it shows the technology is still working out the kinks. So what's the deal here? Why the gap? For plug-in hybrids, it's pretty simple: complexity. You're cramming two complete powertrains, a gas engine and an electric motor, into one car. That just doubles the chances for something to go wrong. For EVs, it's often not even the electric motor. A lot of the time, the problems are with all the other new tech, like buggy touchscreens, electronic door handles, and fancy climate systems. So, after all that, the data, the case studies, the tech deep dive, how do you actually use this information to avoid making a huge, expensive mistake on your next car? Let's put together a quick checklist. If you're buying used, here's how to protect yourself. 1. Take it for a long test drive. I mean, city, highway, the works. 2. Demand to see a detailed service history. 3. Push every single button. Test all the electronics. And 4, this is the most important one, always get a pre-purchase inspection from a mechanic you trust. It's the best $100 you'll ever spend. And if you're buying a brand new car, the single best piece of advice you can get comes from the experts at Consumer Reports. Just wait. All new models and major redesigns are famous for having first-year bugs. If you just let the automaker work those kinks out for a year or two, you can save yourself a world of headaches. All of this kind of leaves us with one big final question, doesn't it? As car companies race to pack more screens, more gadgets, and more complex tech into their cars, is that fundamental idea of just being reliable getting lost in the shuffle? It's definitely something to think about the next time you're looking for a new car.